This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Hello and welcome to Working Like Dogs on Pet Life Radio. Thank you for joining us today and for following Working Like Dogs on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We're your hosts. My name is Marcie Davis, and my co-host is my amazing service dog, Lovey. And we're thrilled to be with you today to talk about our favorite subject, working dogs and working animals. And today we're going to be visiting with Jennifer Arnold, the New York Times best-selling author of Through a Dog's Eyes and founder and executive director of Canine Assistance. And today Jennifer's going to be talking with us about her new book, Love is All You Need, the revolutionary bond-based approach to educating your dog. So come right back after these quick messages as we welcome Jennifer Arnold to the show.
Sit, stay. We'll be right back after a short pause. Well, 4 to be exact.
It's DesignerPetSweaters.com. Hand-knitted designer sweaters for your precious pup or cool cat. Beautiful couture patterns for your pets, including custom-knitted formal wear, casual wear, yachting, and even sports-themed. Many designer pet sweaters include feathered tammy hats, top hats, and a lot of sparkle. Each sweater includes leg loops, front paw sleeves, and leash opening. Visit DesignerPetSweaters.com to order your four-legged fashions today. Your pets will stay warm for the winter and be runway ready. Large or small, we fit them all. DesignerPetSweaters.com.
Let's talk pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back to Working Like Dogs on Pet Life Radio. We're so excited to have Jennifer Arnold with us today. Hello, Jennifer, and welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, we're so glad you could come back. We always love it when you're on the show to talk about what new and innovative work that you're up to, and we're so thrilled that you're going to talk to us today about your wonderful new book, Love is All You Need.
Well, I'm excited to have the opportunity.
Well, before we jump in and start talking about your new awesome book, I was hoping you could give our listeners a little update about Canine Assistance since the last time you were with us. And also, Jennifer, just give them a little bit of background information about you and your amazing program.
Sure. Well, we started in 1991. Canine Assistance is a service dog school, and we now say that we work at educating people and dogs so that they may enhance and improve the lives of one another. We work a lot with people who have difficulty with mobility, as well as medical needs like type 1 diabetes and epilepsy. And this all started because when I was 16, I was diagnosed as having multiple sclerosis, and I used a wheelchair for about 2.5 years. And when I first went into my chair, they thought I would need it for the rest of my life, and I didn't do a very good job of handling that. I kind of fell apart. And my dad had just heard about a woman in California who is Bonnie Bergen, though I didn't know that at the time. And he reached out to her. He read something about her working with people in wheelchairs in 1980. She had just sort of started. And unfortunately, she couldn't send a dog as far away as Georgia. So my dad's wonderful idea to help me sort of figure out how to, live when you didn't walk around and get back in there and sort of fighting was if I needed a dog in the southeastern U.S., other people would too. So maybe we could do this. And Dad met with a CPA the Friday after Thanksgiving in 1980. And very much with my blessing, they named the program Canine Assistance. And they started the paperwork. And 2 weeks later, he was walking home from my grandmother's house. He was walking on a sidewalk that goes around a big park, Chastain Park in Atlanta, and a drunk driver on a motorcycle jumped up on the sidewalk and hit him. And Daddy lived overnight, though barely, at the hospital where he worked. but he died early the next morning. Makes me teary all these years later talking about it. And it took Mom and I 11 years. We had some serious financial problems, like insurance that didn't pay off because there was an exclusionary clause against death by two-wheeled vehicle, of all the bizarre things. But we did it in 1991, and it was very much a lifeline for me. And I will tell you that as the years went on, I've always loved dogs. Until I began really working with them, I had no idea how truly extraordinary they are.
Yep.
Some years ago, I went to our board and said, I owe dogs, and I would like to ask you if you would support me in an effort to do everything in my power to pay them back for the amazing things I've seen them do for people. And I'm very lucky. They are an incredible board, and they have been supportive, and that's where we are today.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that, Jennifer. I love your story. It's just so beautiful of what you've done, and I'm so sorry that you lost such a wonderful father. But I am so thankful that you and your mom moved forward, and look what you have done, girl. It is amazing.
Well, thank you. We've got a lot left to do, as you know.
Yep.
Our industry isn't always so nice. And we can do better. And I think we should, and I've always felt like working dogs and their human partners should absolutely set the standard for companion dogs. And I really want to see us be shining examples. And I think we maybe have a little bit of a way to go. So we need to keep moving in that direction.
Well, and that leads right into my first question for you. And one of the many things that we love about you, Jennifer, is how you challenge the status quo. But tell us why you think it is so important to change the paradigm of how dogs are trained to be assistance dogs.
Okay, first of all, assistance dogs are asked to do some pretty amazing things, and they do it very willingly. And I think that in the vast majority of cases, they enjoy it very much. It's a great life when you get to spend all your time with the person that you love most.
Yep.
But I think there is a moral imperative in there in that dogs are pretty easy to scare and take advantage of. And I think when we're asking animals to help improve our lives, we must be careful to not do so while making their lives untenable. And I think sometimes that maybe happens by accident. And I just know now that never has to be the case. Dogs don't have to learn to retrieve by having their ear pinched until they scream. They don't have to be bribed or forced into doing things for human beings. They're designed to be our social partners. That's what makes them so great. And I realized that even in my first two books, we've changed so much since then, in that people get mad at me for this, and so I'm going to be really careful about it, because I always say I live in an incredibly glass house. The woman that originated our training here liked to use the shock collar to teach the retrieve.
Oh, goodness.
I didn't know any better. I mean, it didn't last very long, but I didn't know any better. My house is very glass, and so I don't want people to think I'm being critical, but when we went to all positive reinforcement, and I couldn't figure out why programs kept telling me that didn't work for them. And what I saw was our dogs, as we got heavier and heavier and heavier into very sort of strict positive reinforcement, our dogs got really anxious. And I realized that positive reinforcement is, to a large extent, conditional affection. It's, I love you when you, and I'm going to take care of you if you. And I just don't think our dogs, I think what we need to do is say, first and foremost, we love you. We're always going to look after you. There's nothing you can do that will make us leave you, abandon you, hurt you. We're always going to keep you safe, and then ask dogs to help us. Does that make
Jennifer,
sense?
That's so beautiful. I have to tell you, Lovey started wagging her tail when you said that. She was clapping.
Sweet baby.
She did. Oh, Jennifer,
they're
so
capable of more than just conditioning.
Yes. No, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, and I agree with you. I mean, I started out in 1993 was when I was placed with my first dog, and it was a totally different experience than the experience I just had last year when Lovey and I were placed together. It was extremely different, and I just am so glad that you're putting this in writing to talk about it, and I'm also so thrilled that you had science behind your work. So tell us a little bit about that and the Family Dog Project.
Well, the science, and I revere Adam Michelozzi, who is the now director of the Family Dog Project in Hungary, in Budapest. But there are other cognition centers also, including here in Atlanta at Emory University, where they're doing a lot of work with functional MRIs on dogs. And Dr. Greg Burns finding out extraordinary things about dogs. The bottom line is, and really research into dogs, is fairly new. I mean, within the last 20 years, that scientists decided that domestic dog was an okay subject for scientific study. Prior to that, they had been considered an impure species, tainted by human involvement. And when the Family Dog Project started in Budapest, as a matter of fact, there were two young PhD candidates whose advisor came in, a brilliant man, and he came in one day and he said to these two young men, we're not going to study fish anymore. Fish apparently are very pure. And we're going to study dogs. The guys thought that he was joking. And then they thought maybe he had a little stroke because they were really, that just wasn't done.
Yeah.
And this was, as Alex the parrot was starting to tell us that, parrots have thoughts and feelings. And so we're very lucky that they stuck it out. And the bottom line in the vast majority of research that has been produced from all these cognition centers is it sort of has one theme running through all of it, and that is dogs are social animals, and they allow human beings to become their social partners.
Yeah.
And that changes everything.
Yes, it does. Yep. Yes, it does. And I just love how you write it so simply, just like that. It's very simple, but yet it's so hard for so many people to get their head around. But really, I couldn't agree more with you. I mean, living with...
Well, people don't trust that dogs will do the right thing.
I know. And they always do. It's like, or at least in my life, it's because when you have to depend on
they
the dog,
try so hard.
Yeah. And I guess it's when you don't really have to depend on a dog. Maybe that's one of their issues, why they can't get that. But I mean, I have to depend on Lovey for my safety, as you know.
Well, I probably see it the other way around more easily. I mean, I see people who do depend on their dogs seem to get it more quickly in some ways. But at Canine Assistance, we used to tell people, and this breaks my heart, we're doing the best we could, so I'm not going to be mad at us, but we used to have to tell people that it'd be a long time, maybe a year to a year and a half, before they were really in sync with their dogs. Mm-hmm. And I finally realized a few years ago that what that was it was a year to a year and a half before people forgot the advice we had given them and just got out of the dog's way.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. And myself included.
They want to do the right thing.
Yes, yeah.
Yes. They really want to do the right thing.
Yeah. But trusting that is really scary. Yeah, for a lot of people.
Well, and we have found that when dogs feel secure, one of the most remarkable things about all of this was I started sort of this journey to figure out if not positive reinforcement, which was the good way in my mind, then what? I certainly didn't want to go to positive punishment. So where did we go? And as I started researching social learning and how we could do things in ways that made the dogs feel more comfortable and secure with us rather than the opposite, increasing insecurity, I realized that, and that was my goal, to help them feel less anxious. Mm-hmm. They were counting. They were reading words. They're counting objects. They're the most extraordinary things you've ever seen. They're fast mapping by reasoning through exclusion. It's stunning. And it turns out, I think, that when dogs aren't frightened, they're pretty bright.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that is revolutionary. I mean, that...
Oh, that wasn't something that I had no idea. And so that helped people. when people see that their dog, for example, with type 1 diabetes, we can say to a dog, is my blood sugar out of range, yes or no? Hold out the left hand with yes, the right hand with no, and the dog will paw or nose the appropriate hand. And if the answer is yes, you can then say, is it high or low?
Wow.
And they'll tell you.
Wow.
And once you see a few things like that, you start trusting them.
Yeah.
And you look at them in a different way.
Yeah. Well, and how did you start? How did that change your training of how you were working with your human partners?
I was so scared. to bring this here. And I'll tell you what happened was Victoria Stillwell, who is a board member here, had a group of her positively dog trainers, pet dog trainers, that wanted to come and do a Teach the Teacher seminar that we do here. And in the first group that came from Vicky's group, I said, I'm going to tell you everything we're doing now and what I think we should be doing, but I'm not brave enough. And they all listened, but two in particular really paid attention. And they went home, and 93 days later, my phone rang, and it was a trainer named Judy Luther out of St. Louis who said, we're coming back to see you. And I was like, now? What? A stalker? I mean, I barely remember who you... Well, anyway, they did. They showed up the next day, and they came in, and Judy Luther looked me in the face and said, if you do not go all in with this, you're a coward. So I said, okay. She had done it. She and a wonderful woman from Louisville named Allison Woosley had taken this back to all their pet dog clients and had stunning results. So,
okay, hold this thought. We're going to take a quick break, and here's some important messages from our sponsors, and we're going to come right back. So hold that thought, Jennifer, and we'll be right back.
I got it.
We'll be right back, right after these messages. Stay tuned.
Sheba is 105 lean pounds of happy dog for life because she gets fed Dynovite and Lico Chops.
Order a 90-day supply of Dynovite for your dog this week.
We'll send you a bottle of Lico Chops free.
New improved Lico Chops with omega-6, omega-3, vitamin E.
And now 6 extra direct-fed microbials.
Even better for the digestive tract and immune system.
Try Lico Chops.
Free this week at Dynovite.com.
DINOVITE.com.
Hi, I'm Dana Humphrey, the founder of Whitegate PR. We have been specializing in PR and marketing in the pet industry for over 10 years. If you have a pet product or service you would like to promote, give us a call. We can help create awareness for your brand on TV, radio, magazines, newspapers, and blogs. Feel free to reach me directly at 619-414-9307 or learn more on our website at whitegatepr.com or follow us on Facebook.
Let's talk pets.
Let's talk pets
On Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back to Working Like Dogs on Pet Life Radio, and we are talking with best-selling author and director of Canine Assistance, Jennifer Arnold. And okay, Jennifer, we told you to hold that thought before the break, so I hope you held it. Okay, awesome.
I did. Okay, so when I was called out by this trainer, Judy Luther, and who said, you really need to embrace everything that we had gone over, which I had named the bond-based approach, with your assistance dogs, I went back to our board and said, I really want to try this. And they were supportive. And one of the first things we did was we eliminated command cues, which was a little scary for everybody. The reason that we did, and we do, the dogs learn vocabulary words. But what I wanted to do was shift the overall approach from training the dog to respond when given a cue to teaching the dog to figure out the appropriate action on his or her own. And yes, there are environmental cues, except, they're always sort of prompts. But my thought was, if we can quit directly telling the dog what to do, it will increase confidence and relationship and allow the dog to function more fully. Because when we taught a dog 89 to 91 behaviors on cue, they were fabulous with 89 or 91 behaviors on cue. But for example, if the pen rolled under the couch, there really wasn't a cue for, okay, you need to figure out how to get that out from under the couch.
Right.
There was just a look, get it, hold it, give. And so we were working with dogs who had started in the positive reinforcement, specifically clicker training. Mm-hmm. But I thought perhaps if we taught our client the bond-based approach, that we would see how that would go. And it really was amazing because the dogs weren't so worried anymore. And so, we used to have a horrible time with diarrhea during our client training camps. The dogs would just kind of fall apart. So that stopped happening. The dogs that would, for the first couple of days, the dogs were used to be a little hard for the people to handle. They would, maybe put their feet on the table or do things like that. They were just asleep. And I realized that so much of those things that we all see as misbehaviors really were just driven by anxiety.
Yeah, and stress.
And right. Do you know that in 2014, this just blows my mind, in 2014 in the United States alone, people spent $1 billion, $1 billion with a B, in an effort to reduce anxiety and stress in pet dogs.
Wow.
Something isn't right.
Wow.
And I've come to believe that what isn't right is our directing our dogs to be obedient. I think we need to stop telling them what to do and start teaching them what is appropriate and then letting them do the right thing on their own because they do. Mm-hmm. And I can give you a great quick example if you'd like it.
Please.
So we used to use the cue leave it when we wanted a dog not to interact with an object or an individual. There's something icky on the ground, we would say, leave it. And the dog was not to make eye contact.
I use it every day. Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay, so now instead of doing leave it, we start when they're very young and we teach them ick. And we teach them ick with a face like you smell sour milk.
Uh-huh.
A face showing disgust because studies have shown that dogs can recognize these universal mammalian emotions when they're displayed on our face, particularly joy and disgust. Mm-hmm. So rather than demanding that they leave it alone, we give them social information that indicates it might be a good idea for you not to mess with that. And very quickly, we're able to go from making that dramatic face to just saying, ugh. Mm. And the dogs are like, oh, okay, I won't do it. Rather than telling, which I had always, all my life in dogs, I heard you tell dogs what to do. You don't ask.
Right.
I now say malarkey. Just ask.
Yeah.
Just say, will you help me? And half the time, I see dogs do things that I know they don't know the vocabulary really involved, but the dog can figure it out when they feel brave. And so one of the things that I'm the most excited about is we designed this leash, not only for our dogs, but, so sometimes we would see dogs, especially dogs that are attached to wheelchairs, become reactive toward other dogs. And I think that a lot of that was that feeling of restraint, which is scary because it sort of, it starts that fight or flight and you can't flee. And so the best you can do is say, don't bother us, stay away from us, we're vulnerable. So I wanted to figure out how we could help dogs not feel vulnerable on leash. So I designed this leash called the We Leash, W-E, because it's not you versus me, it's we. We do it together. So you have a handle and the dog has a handle. And so it's shaped like a Y with your handle being the long end. And then there's a branch that connects to the dog's harness or collar and a branch that has a handle with crinkly material or a toy or a binky. There are many different things that you can attach. And the dog can hold his own end of the leash. And because of the way it's designed, there's never any pressure at all on the dog so they don't feel restrained. And, they can certainly put whatever they're holding down if they need to tug the door open or pick something up for their person. But when they, move through life, they can do so feeling like they have some control. And so we just released it for pet dogs, and we need people to, it's called We for Dogs is the website that sells it, and I'm begging people to check it out because it has been amazing for our dogs.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Can anybody get the leash? So it is available.
Absolutely. It's
wow.
We just finished a Kickstarter campaign that did really well. But it was and now we have it. Their website, the company that we started is called We for Dogs, and so people can get it on the website wefordogs.com.
Excellent. Well, we'll make that. We'll have
percentage
that
of the proceeds. It benefits canine assistants too.
Of course, it does. That's great.
As does the book.
Yes.
And the book works for pets every bit as well. I promise. One of the things that we do now is we advocate sharing food, human food, and that's safe for dogs and palatable for people in minuscule amounts. It's a great bonding tool.
Well, I was gonna say,
everything we thought we knew is out.
Well, and I was wondering about that, about if you could tell us about some of the bonding things that you recommend for your clients in order to help them build a strong bond with their new canine partner.
Well, we know that eye contact is really important. So one of the things that we advocate is obviously lots of face-to-face time. Mm-hmm. Either, with the dog in the bed or the dog in your lap, or because we know that oxytocin is released both in human, male and female, and dog, bonding one to the other when you have that face-to-face, that eye contact. We call it two hands all in. When, for example, we would take a dog to a restaurant, our clients would take their dog to a restaurant. The old way was we would have them tell the dog to go in, which meant go under the table. I don't know why they had to go under the table and lie down. I'm not sure why they had to lie down either, frankly. But so they have to be out of the way so they're not in anybody's way. But now, instead of doing the go in, we ask the person to have the dog by them and go two hands all in. And if you can't touch the dog with two hands, it really means just give the dog your focus completely for a few minutes. Just coo for a few minutes until your dog relaxes enough to lie down on his own. When I fly with dogs now, the dog in the cabin with me, I'll say, instead of down, stay, I'll say long flight, and they just relax. It's just it's a no-brainer.
I know. I love it. I love it.
And it works. So much better than all that telling them what to do all the time and all that. Recently, now it's been several months, but I took a dog for an organization that I love who does clicker training. I was flying from Atlanta to Seattle, and they asked if I would deliver this dog to Seattle. And I said, absolutely. I'd be happy to let him fly with me. And he was lovely going through the Atlanta airport. And we get on the plane, and I say, okay, sweetie, it's going to be a long flight. And he looks at me, eyes like saucers. And I thought, oh, crud. What do I do? I can't remember. And I thought, oh, wait, I have to tell him what he should do. So 5.5 hours, I had to reiterate, down, stay. Because he'd gotten pretty dependent on being told what to do. Mm-hmm. And I think that may be making him kind of not very brave.
Yeah.
And it sure is a lot easier just to be able to say, okay, I'm chilling, you chill. Yeah. And they're because of their social nature, they want to please the other members of their social group. That is an incredibly powerful motivator for dogs.
Mm-hmm.
All social animals. It is for us, too. We want people to like us. And we don't want to get in trouble. And dogs are so much that way. And I think we've just made it a lot harder for dogs and a lot harder for ourselves than it needed to be.
Well, and I have to ask you too, Jennifer. So now with this new training modality, because it's a philosophy. I loved that in the book, that it's not a methodology, it's a philosophy. And I was just wondering, does it take you longer to get a dog ready for placement, or is it less time? How's that
No,
working?
I would say that it is significant. I mean, basically we can't cut a lot of time off just because we wait for them to get a little bit, want them around at least 18 months.
Right.
But they would be ready in terms of knowing how to help people and having the confidence and the demeanor to do so. It would be much faster. We teach everything, all of the things that took us weeks, like the light switch and retrieving, and we now teach using a sort of crass form of imitation that we named Like Me. So we demonstrate the action, and then we ask the dog, can you do like me? And it's, dogs who understand the concept of imitating your actions, as long as they can physically and emotionally do it immediately.
Yeah.
There's a few weeks.
Yeah, that's huge.
And people can go home and have somebody demonstrate, because one of the problems is we didn't have people's doorknobs, light switches.
Right.
It makes it so much easier when the dogs go home. I mean, it's not easy sometimes for people to let go of the idea of directing the dog's obedience. And I think society judges dogs still, a good dog is a dog that sits on command.
That's right. That is
right. I
heard,
want people
right?
to understand that is but a really great dog is a dog who sits when it's appropriate, without being told. And when you think about heroic dogs, what dog has ever been heroic that was at the same time being obedient?
You're right.
Think about it. It's the dog that won't shut up because the house is on fire. Right. And I think we're making a grave error when we take that initiative away from our dogs, especially our working dogs. I think we tend to make them afraid to do that, and I don't ever want them to be afraid to do it. And you know what? I think emotional fear can be even worse than physical fear.
Yeah, I agree. And, I have to say that for Lovey, she is so confident and so calm in who she is. And it's so many of the things that you've been describing with her, and that I have surrendered my own training, how I was conditioned. And I was in a meeting earlier today, and she didn't want to lay down. And you know what? I did not make her, but I've been trained that she needs to lay down. But I thought, you know what? My girl knows there's something she needs to keep an eye on, or there's something. And so I let her, and then she did lay down, after a while. And when we were leaving, I then discovered that there was another dog out there. There were a whole bunch of dog toys. There was a lot of things going on that I wasn't even aware of, that she definitely, was very appropriate in her behavior. But yet I surrendered what I instinctually wanted to do of make her behave, what I thought was behaving. Yeah, but that's so hard. I am starting to get that, and how powerful it is. And like you said, how much it empowers her and empowers me. And it is
such a gift to our dogs if we can just help society recognize that. But you know what, Marcie, I think the industry did that. We did this to ourselves. I mean, we were the ones who decided that dogs had to lie down. I don't think anybody in a restaurant, as long as the dog is standing quietly or, sitting quietly, I don't think it is necessarily the public. I do think it is what is. And, the way for the most part, they're still tested, the public access test.
Yes, I was just thinking that.
Well, we are among everything else that we're doing. We have recently incorporated what we hope will become a collaborative of like-minded working dog schools called the Assistance Dog Alliance. And our public access test is different. We want to see within a certain amount of time that the dog feels comfortable and confident enough to, relax on his own or her own. Because that's, to me, what makes a dog really safe. I can't quite reconcile having a dog that follows my directives with being safe necessarily in public, because the dog could be incredibly nervous and still respond to my cues. That doesn't mean if a child runs up to the dog won't react.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think a relaxed dog is a safe dog.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
a relaxed and confident dog. Yeah.
Right. And, I think we need regulation. We're desperate for it. But, I'm so afraid that the regulation will go in a way that's not very good for our dogs. And honestly, what isn't good for our dogs isn't good for us.
I agree.
It just demeans us all.
Well, I think you have written a groundbreaking piece of work here. I mean, you really have. It's a fabulous resource for anyone who's interested in understanding more about assistance dogs, but it's also for anyone who has or wants a relationship with a dog. I mean, it really is, Jennifer. You really have something groundbreaking here. And I just hope that everyone gets to read, as many people who's read Through a Dog's Eyes gets to read Love Is All You Need, because it really is powerful stuff.
Oh, bless you. Thank you so much for understanding it and for those kind words.
Well, you really have taught us that love really is all that we need, Jennifer. It really is. Yeah. Well, please promise you'll come back, because we could visit with you all day, but we know you're busy.
I will.
And we want you to get back and keep working and educating people and sharing this beautiful, beautiful way of communicating and working in partnership with these amazing dogs that do so much for us. So thank you, Jennifer.
Will you kiss your girl for me too? Okay.
I will. Okay.
Take care.
You too. And thank you, our listeners, for being with us. We love to hear from you. So please keep those emails coming, and please follow us now on Instagram. We're really excited to be posting, and I know Lovey posts a couple of times a day. So please check us out on Instagram at Working Like Dogs. And also you can find us at workinglikedogs.com. And you can email me at Marcie, Marcie, at petliferadio.com. So thanks so much for being with us, and we look forward to being with you again soon. Take good care.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.